In the vast reaches of the galaxy, among countless stars and swirling nebulae, the star system known as Virelis was home to a proud and cautious people called the Virelians. For centuries, they had heard stories of a distant world named Earth, said to orbit a bright yellow star in a forgotten corner of the universe. But these tales were never more than legend stories told by old travelers and scholars, whispers of a planet where a fierce and clever species once lived. The humans, as they were called, were said to have overcome challenges that no other race could face. They had survived wars, natural disasters, and even threats from their own kind, all while spreading their influence across their little corner of space. But after many centuries, Earth vanished from known star charts. Some said the humans had destroyed themselves. Others believed they had risen beyond the stars and left no trace. Still, a few held hope that the tales were true, that humanity was out there somewhere, waiting to be found again. For the Virelians, this was no more than a myth, a story to entertain children or remind adults of the past. But now, everything was about to change. .it began with a faint signal, barely noticed at first, caught by the Virelian listening arrays far beyond their home planet. The signal was strange, old and new at the same time, carrying a message in a language that seemed ancient yet strangely familiar. When decoded, the coordinates pointed to a star system that had long been marked as empty and dead. It was Earth's system, the same one from the legends. News spread quickly through the halls of the Virelian Council. Some dismissed it as a trick or a trap. Others saw it as a sign, a call from a species they thought lost to time. Fear mixed with curiosity as the council debated what to do next. Sending a fleet to investigate was dangerous. What if this was a warning from a powerful enemy? What if the humans were not extinct, but waiting, watching, ready to strike? Yet, ignoring the signal felt just as risky. The galaxy was growing unstable, with rising conflicts between neighboring systems. And if the humans were real, they might be the key to tipping the balance of power. After long hours of discussion, the decision was made. A reconnaissance fleet would be sent, smaller and faster than usual, to find out the truth about Earth and its people. As the ships prepared to leave, back on Earth itself, humanity had quietly awakened from its own long sleep. Their fleets had grown over the decades, hidden among the stars, perfecting their technology, and ready to show the galaxy that humans were far from legends. Earth was no longer the quiet, forgotten blue dot. Its cities had expanded, its ships had evolved, and its people had learned lessons from every battle and hardship. Commander Rise, a calm but fierce leader, stood on the bridge of the flagship Horizon, watching the star system of Virelis growing closer through the viewports. They had received their own signals, confirming the Virelians were coming to them, uncertain and cautious. Rise knew this first contact would not be easy. The humans had stories too of their own survival, of betrayal and courage, and of a destiny that seemed tied to this distant system. As the Horizon moved through space, every crew member understood the weight of their mission. They were the living proof that humanity was not extinct, not weak, and certainly not a myth. Back in Virelis, the fleet approached the system with growing tension. Sensors scanned every inch of the empty planets and moons. The deeper they went, the more signs of recent activity appeared: ruins rebuilt, signals pulsing in hidden frequencies, and finally the unmistakable signature of massive spacecraft orbiting silently in formation. The Virelians had never seen anything like them. ships shaped in ways that seemed both ancient and futuristic, gleaming with a technology that combined strength and elegance. Panic began to rise among the crews. Was this a trap? Was humanity planning to attack? But then, a calm voice came over the comms. It was a human message, simple but clear. We come in peace. We have watched, waited, and now we are here to protect what we once called home. The Varelians were stunned. Could a species so feared and forgotten really offer peace? Commander Lurel, the Varelian fleet leader, ordered his ships to hold position. Every sensor was trained on the human armada as the two fleets hovered on the edge of what could be war or an alliance. Questions flooded the minds of every soldier and diplomat. Who were these humans now? What had happened in the centuries since Earth disappeared from the maps? The Varelians sent their best linguists and historians to communicate, to find common ground. The humans responded with stories of survival against impossible odds, of unity forged in fire, and of a future where humanity would stand, with anyone willing to fight for peace. But behind the words lay an unspoken warning. The galaxy was darker than the legends told, and enemies lurked in shadows ready to strike. If the Varelians rejected this offer, they would face those enemies alone. And the humans, with their unmatched resilience and cunning, would not hesitate to defend their new allies. As the fleets held their silent standoff, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The myth of Earth was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was here. The vast human fleet moved steadily into the Virelis system. A deep silence fell over the Varelian ships that had been waiting in orbit. The sight of the humans' ships was unlike anything the Varelians had ever seen before. Massive vessels that looked both powerful and elegant, with sleek designs that seemed to blend centuries of evolution and technology in perfect harmony. The human armada was not just a show of strength, but a demonstration of survival and readiness. Commander Lurel stood on the bridge of his flagship, eyes fixed on the shimmering forms of the human ships, feeling a mixture of awe and unease. The Virelian fleet had always been strong in their own right, but the humans brought with them a strange energy, a sense of purpose that went beyond mere defense or conquest. Suddenly, the calm was broken by an encrypted transmission, clear and steady. The voice calm yet firm. We come not to conquer, but to stand with those who wish to resist the darkness that spreads across the stars. It was Commander Reyes, speaking for the humans, and his words echoed through the Varelian command center, stirring hope and doubt in equal measure. The Virelians had prepared for battle, yet here was an invitation to peace and offer that demanded trust in a species that had been only legend until now. As the humans slowly moved closer to the planet Virelis, scouts from both sides exchanged data, each trying to learn as much as possible about the other without revealing too much. The humans' technology surprised the Virelians with its adaptability. Their ships could alter shields, weapons, and engines in real time, reacting to threats faster than any known species. The Varelians found themselves both impressed and intimidated. Meanwhile, civilians on Virelis watched the skies anxiously. The presence of the human fleet stirred memories of ancient wars and old alliances long forgotten. Rumors spread in whispers. Could the humans really be the saviors their ancestors had dreamed about? Or were they a new threat waiting to claim the stars? As night fell on Virelis, the human fleet deployed small diplomatic ships to open channels of communication with Varelian leaders. Commander Rise met with the Varelian Council in a virtual chamber where holograms of the two leaders faced each other across millions of kilometers of space. Rise spoke of humanity's journey from the brink of extinction to the rebirth of a fleet strong enough to protect not just Earth, but any world threatened by the rising evil known as the Exirith. He described how humanity had learned from past mistakes, uniting under a code of resilience and hope. The council listened carefully, their skepticism slowly replaced by cautious respect. Yet, as the meeting ended, a sudden alarm echoed through the Varelian war room. An unidentified fleet had appeared on long-range scanners, moving fast and hostile. The Exirath, a species known for destruction and conquest, were on the move, drawn perhaps by the awakening of humanity or sensing weakness in the newly formed alliance. Panic rippled through the council, and the uneasy peace between humans and Varelians was shattered by the urgent need to prepare for war. In the next hours, the human and Varelian commanders coordinated their defenses, combining their fleets for the first time in history. Tensions ran high as old fears met new hopes in the shadow of the incoming threat. The people of Vareli's waited, holding their breath, knowing that the arrival of humans had changed everything and that the battle for their future was about to begin. The legend was alive. The humans had arrived, and the stars were no longer silent. The calm before the storm vanished in an instant when the blips appeared on the long-range scanners, an enormous fleet emerging from the dark edges of the system, moving faster than any known ship could travel, casting long shadows over the stars. The Varelian commanders exchanged uneasy looks as the massive war machines of the Exirath grew larger on their displays, their sharp, angular forms bristling with weapons and armor, unlike anything seen before. These creatures were ruthless, a name whispered in fear across countless star systems, conquerors who crushed worlds under their boots without mercy or reason. The humans, standing shoulder to shoulder with their new allies, had no time for hesitation. Commander Rise barked orders, his voice steady and clear, knowing full well that this battle would be unlike any other. The combined fleets scrambled to form a defensive line, their ships weaving through asteroid fields and deploying shields as the Exirith advanced with brutal speed and precision. The first shots fired lit up space like a deadly fireworks display, lasers and missiles streaking toward the enemy. But the Exirath were relentless, their ships adapting quickly to every tactic, exploiting weaknesses that no fleet had ever faced before. Panic and fear threatened to break the ranks of the Varelians, but the humans showed a different kind of resolve, using technology that could learn mid-battle, adjusting shields and weapons in seconds, turning the tide in unexpected moments. Commander Laurel, fighting alongside Reyes, realized that this was more than a fight for survival. It was a test of spirit, of unity against a darkness that had already consumed too many worlds. The battle raged for hours, each side taking heavy losses, and yet neither willing to give ground. The humans' presence was like a spark that reignited hope among the Allied forces, pushing them to fight harder and smarter. Meanwhile, deeper in the command center, analysts scrambled to understand the Exirith's tactics, piecing together the patterns behind their seemingly chaotic attacks. It became clear that the enemy was more than just brute force. They were cunning, able to predict certain moves and adapt in real time. The humans shared their own combat data, teaching the Allies how to anticipate and counter the Exirith's maneuvers. Commander Rise led daring strikes directly into the heart of the enemy fleet, risking everything to disrupt their command ship. His actions inspired others, showing that courage could turn the impossible into the achievable. Yet, as the battle wore on, a darker truth emerged. The Exarath had a weapon far deadlier than any gun or missile, an ancient device capable of disrupting the very fabric of space-time, threatening to tear the system apart if they were not stopped. This revelation pushed the Allied commanders to new heights of cooperation, their focus shifting from mere survival to stopping the Exarath's plan before it was too late. Time was running out, and every decision carried the weight of countless lives. The story of humanity's return was no longer just about proving they were real. It was about saving the galaxy from falling into shadow. As the final moments of this brutal battle approached, Commander Rise knew that victory would require more than strength. It demanded unity, sacrifice, and the unyielding will to protect what mattered most. The stars watched silently as the fate of many hung in the balance, and the humans, once thought legends, stood ready to lead. The battle had left scars across the stars and hearts of many, but the victory against the Exarath had opened a new path for the galaxy, a path that depended not on old rivalries or distrust, but on a fragile and growing alliance between humans and Varelians, joined now by other species who had heard the call for unity. The survivors gathered in the orbit of Varela's largest moon, their fleets forming a patchwork of technology and culture, each ship a symbol of hope and survival. Commander Rise stood on the bridge of the horizon, looking out at the assembly of Allied ships and feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever before. He had fought battles that tested his body and mind, but now his greatest challenge was to forge trust among beings whose histories were filled with suspicion and war. The Virelian Council convened with the human commanders, exchanging knowledge and stories, trying to build a foundation strong enough to hold against the darkness that still loomed beyond their borders. For the first time, the ancient legends of humanity were not spoken as myths, but as living proof, stories told not with disbelief but with awe. The humans shared their secrets, advanced shield technology that could adapt to new threats in seconds, weapons systems that learned and improved with every battle, and strategies born from hard lessons of survival. The Varelians, in turn, offered their vast knowledge of the surrounding space, their diplomatic skills, and their fleet's sheer power in numbers. Despite the progress, tension simmered beneath the surface. Old wounds did not heal overnight. Some factions feared losing their independence, worried that the human strength would overshadow others and turn allies into subjects. In secret chambers, whispers of rebellion and distrust stirred, threatening the fragile peace. Rise understood that victory in battle was only the first step. Winning hearts and minds required patience, respect, and proof that unity was not just a word, but a way of life. He initiated joint training exercises where crews from different species worked side by side, learning each other's customs and fighting styles, breaking down barriers built over generations. Stories were exchanged around virtual campfires, tales of hardship and courage that showed common threads beneath alien faces. Slowly, bonds began to form, not just between commanders, but among ordinary soldiers and citizens. The alliance also faced urgent challenges. The Exarath were retreating but far from defeated. Intelligence reports revealed that they were regrouping, gathering new weapons and forces in hidden systems. The threat was growing, and time was slipping away. To prepare, the Allies agreed to share research and resources openly, a decision unheard of before, but necessary now. Human scientists worked alongside Virelian engineers to improve communication systems, making them faster and more secure. New ships were designed, blending human resilience and Virelian versatility. Meanwhile, diplomats traveled between allied worlds, spreading the message of unity and urging hesitant systems to join the fight. Public opinion was divided. Some saw the alliance as salvation, while others viewed it as dangerous interference in their own affairs. Protests and political struggles tested the leaders' resolve. Commander Rise and his team understood that this war was not only fought with weapons, but also with ideas and trust. As weeks turned into months, the alliance grew stronger, but so did the enemy's dark shadow. One night, during a joint strategy meeting, an urgent warning arrived. An advanced Exarath strike force was detected moving swiftly toward a key supply planet. The alliance scrambled ships and troops, rushing to defend what was vital for their survival. The battle that followed was fierce and chaotic. The Exarath used new tactics, attacking from unexpected angles and exploiting gaps in defenses. But the Allied fleet, guided by human adaptability and Virelian coordination, held firm. The combined efforts repelled the enemy, marking another hard-won victory. Yet, the cost was high. Many lives were lost, and the Alliance was reminded that the fight was far from over. In the quiet moments after the battle, leaders met again to plan for the future. They knew that only through trust, cooperation, and shared sacrifice could they protect their homes and create a new destiny for the galaxy. Commander Rise stood once more on the horizon's bridge, gazing at the stars with a steady heart. The humans had stepped from legend into reality, not as conquerors, but as partners and protectors. And in that moment, something new was born, a hope that the darkest nights could be overcome by unity, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of all who stood together. In the distant corners of the Andromeda sector, whispers still echoed about the humans once feared, once admired, and once thought to be nothing more than ghost stories passed around by old war veterans and paranoid alien scholars. But that changed when the lights went out across the K-tail system. It began with silence, strange and complete, as if someone had pressed pause on the universe, and then one by one, the starships patrolling the dark edge of known space vanished without trace. No wreckage, no distress signal, only the blackness left behind. High councils across the galaxy gathered, trying to make sense of it, and most dismissed it as a freak anomaly, a void storm maybe, or an unknown predator from deep space. But General Viren of the Vrax's Dominion wasn't so quick to believe in luck or monsters. She had heard the stories, ones buried in old files and banned archives, stories of Earth and its people, the ones who turned dying planets into fortresses, the ones who fought wars with nothing but grit and fire, the ones who disappeared over 100 years ago after the Great Collapse. Many said humans were extinct, their homeworld silent, their colonies wiped out during the final battles of the Soul Resistance. But Viren had a feeling, a creeping cold in her spine that told her something ancient had woken up again. She launched a small probe mission into the vanished K-tail zone, and the footage returned showed nothing but darkness until the last 3 seconds, where a silhouette appeared vague, hulking, unmistakably bipedal. And then the signal was cut with a sound that could only be described as a growl mixed with static. Fear spread, quiet and contagious, as other systems near K-tail reported missing ships, entire outposts going dark overnight, and strange messages broadcast on old human frequencies, ones not used in over a century. "They're back," Someone whispered during the emergency summit of the Galactic Union, but no one wanted to say it aloud. Still, governments deployed fleets, surveillance satellites, AI hunters all vanished. One surviving cruiser limped back from the edge of the Orion Loop, its crew missing and walls scorched with symbols written in a language long banned English. A single sentence was carved into the captain's chair, we remember. Panic erupted. Races that once mocked humanity now sealed their borders, hoping isolation would save them, but it didn't. A week later, a hidden weapons facility on the icy moon of Vargas exploded from within, and security footage showed dark armored figures moving through the flames, ignoring plasma fire as if they didn't feel pain at all. The leader of the group turned toward the camera, raised one hand, and then everything went white. Survivors described them as relentless, quiet, eyes glowing with something primal, something not just angry, but focused. The Galactic Council tried to make contact, but every signal was met with silence. Then came the broadcast. All channels, all languages, one voice. We were forgotten. We were betrayed. But we are not gone. We are not myths. We are not legends. We are human. After that, the attacks became coordinated. Every shipyard capable of producing advanced warships was targeted. Every fleet commander who had once signed the extinction accords against Earth was either dead or missing. A trail of perfect chaos followed, fast, surgical, unforgiving. They weren't trying to rule. They weren't trying to talk. They were sending a message. And slowly, dread settled across the stars because the oldest fear had returned, not of a beast, not of a god, but of an idea, an old enemy with a new purpose. In a secret chamber beneath the crust of a dead asteroid, General Viren watched intercepted footage from a human strike team, how they moved, how they disappeared between frames, how not even AI could track them, and she realized something the others hadn't yet. These weren't the same humans as before. These were harder, colder, sharpened by a century of silence, forged in vengeance and buried hatred. They had not returned as conquerors, nor as diplomats, but as shadows reminding the galaxy that what was once legend had become real again. And in that moment, Viren knew the truth: humanity hadn't vanished. They had hidden, evolved, and waited. And now, their silence was over.